Welcome to the deep dive. Have you ever found yourself sort of navigating a big decision
Oh, definitely.
and your mind just automatically runs through all these what ifs, these if-then
Yeah,
scenarios?
it's almost subconscious, isn't it?
Totally. Whether it's like a career change or maybe a big investment or even just planning your weekend, right?
Hmm.
So much of how we strategize is built on, well, understanding conditions and what might happen next.
Exactly. The potential outcomes.
So today we're doing a deep dive into conditional language and usage, but not like a dry grammar lesson.
No, no, far from it.
We want this to be more like a shortcut, really, to understanding how we talk about possibilities, probabilities, hypotheticals.
And how that language actually shapes how we see things, how we think about reality.
You've put that really well.
Well, what's fascinating, I think, is how these structures in language, they're not just rules someone made up.
Right.
They actually show the architecture, how we think about cause and effect.
Mm-hmm.
Quite fundamental.
Yeah.
So by the end of this deep dive, hopefully you'll not only get the mechanics of conditionals better,
Mm-hmm.
but you also see how using them precisely can really empower your communication and your critical thinking too.
Okay, let's jump right into a situation then, something that really shows this in everyday life.
Good idea.
We heard from a listener, let's call him Simon. He recently inherited $10,000.
Okay. Nice windfall.
Yeah. And he's trying to figure out what to do with it. And his chat with his father, it's just packed with if statements. It's a perfect example.
Right. The kind of conversation many people have, I imagine.
Totally. So first, Simon thought about just, leaving the money in the bank. Simple enough.
A safe option, maybe?
Maybe. But his father, being pragmatic, gave him a warning. He said something like, unless you invest it properly, you won't earn much interest.
The condition.
Exactly. And, he added, it may even lose value over time. So he's painting this probable negative outcome.
Using that conditional unless to frame the risk of inaction.
Yeah. Then Simon had this idea, maybe a bit of a dream, of a trip around the world.
Okay, that's a bigger leap.
For sure. And he immediately started weighing the conditions himself. He thought, well, if I went traveling, I'd lose a year of study.
Mhm.
Opportunity costs.
And I wouldn't have any money left over for anything else.
Yeah.
Real practical consideration.
Right.
And his father agreed, but added another condition, almost upping the ante. If you were to spend a year traveling, you'd probably need an awful lot more money than this.
Using that were to make it sound even more hypothetical, more unlikely.
Yeah, exactly. Distances it a bit. Finally, Simon thought about buying a car.
Okay, another practical option.
Yeah, but his dad, thinking about the ongoing costs, pointed out, look, if you own a car, you also have to pay for insurance and road tax every year.
Mm-hmm. The hidden costs.
And then there's the petrol. Just laying out the facts, the consequences of ownership.
That sounds like a zero conditional, almost. A general truth about car ownership. I think you're right, but Simon had a good reason, a sort of counter condition. He said, it would be great if I could drive to work instead of the bus,
Makes sense.
especially if I have to work late at night. So the condition makes the car appealing.
It's amazing, isn't it? Just a normal chat. But it's so dense with these different conditional ideas.
It really is.
Each if or unless isn't just a word. It's showing their certainty, their worries, maybe just, imagining things.
Like Simon's worry about investing.
Exactly. He says, but I'm scared that if I invest it, I might lose it all when the stock market goes down. You hear the fear, the possibility of loss.
Yeah, the might makes it sound possible, but not definite.
Precisely. And then his dad comes back with this reassurance, but it's still conditional. You won't lose any money, provided that you think of it as a long-term investment.
Putting a condition on the safety.
Right. And then that compromise for the car. As long as you get a secondhand one, you should still be able to invest some money. That's what I would do if I were you. It's like you can almost hear the mental calculations happening.
Absolutely. It's light about strict grammar, like you said, and more about the underlying logic we're using.
Yeah.
So when we talk about conditional language, we're really digging into this relationship, aren't we, between a condition and a result.
At the core of it.
Usually introduced by if, we all know that. But the fascinating part is the subtlety, the different levels of certainty or possibility they signal.
Yeah, exactly. And if you think bigger picture, getting these nuances isn't just about, sounding smart.
Right.
It's about being a more precise thinker, a clearer communicator. It's foundational for planning, arguing, problem solving.
Yeah.
everything, really.
Okay, so let's sharpen the focus then. How do we actually express these different shades? We group them into types, right? You probably know the basics, but let's look at the intent behind each one.
Good plan. Let's start with the zero conditional.
Right, the zero. You know this one. If this happens, that always happens. Present tense, present tense.
Like a rule.
Exactly. We use it for things that are just generally true, facts, habits. Think of if here as meaning something like every time.
Okay.
Like, if you heat water to 100 degrees Celsius, it boils. Can't argue with that.
Nope. Scientific fact.
Or, Simon's dad again, if you own a car, you also have to pay for insurance. That's just how it is. Predictable.
Mm-hmm. There's an inevitability to it, isn't there? Almost cause and effect. There's no doubt involved.
Right. It sets the baseline, like this is established reality.
Okay.
Now, let's shift gears to the first conditional. This is where we get into probable future results.
Okay, so not guaranteed, but likely.
Exactly. The structure is usually if plus the present tense, then will or won't, maybe might, could, going to plus the verb. It signals a strong, realistic possibility.
Right.
Simon's dad used it with the investment advice. If you leave your money in the bank, you won't earn any interest, and it may lose value.
He sees that as a likely outcome of doing nothing.
Right. He's not saying it definitely will lose value, maybe just that it's very possible.
And that's the key, isn't it? Using will suggests strong belief, whereas may or might introduces a bit more uncertainty.
Yeah. Like when Simon says, if I invest it, I might lose it all.
You hear his nervousness, the risk is real to him, but it's still just a possibility, not a certainty. It's about assessing real potential futures.
Okay, which leads us nicely to the second conditional. Now this is where it gets, well, interesting. Because this is for the imaginary stuff.
The hypotheticals.
Yeah, or things that are unlikely, maybe even impossible. Think back to Simon dreaming about traveling. If I went traveling, I wouldn't have any money left over.
Using the past tense, there went.
Exactly. But, and this is crucial, it's not referring to past time.
No, it signals distance.
Yeah.
Distance from reality. It marks it as hypothetical.
Spot on. It's an unlikely scenario for him right now.
And with the verb be, you can use was or were, right? Like if I were you or if I was you.
Yeah, where is often seen as maybe a bit more formal, but both work. Like Simon's dad. That's what I would do if I were you. And there's that other construction his dad used for the travel idea, remember? The really unlikely one.
Yeah, the were to thing.
Right. If you were to spend a year traveling, you can add that to infinitive for actions that seem particularly remote or, just highly improbable future ideas.
Which raises a good question, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Why do we choose these different structures? Why frame something as unlikely or purely hypothetical?
Good point.
Well, think about Simon's dad again with that were to. He's using it to gently emphasize how impractical the idea seems.
Without just shooting it down completely.
Exactly. It lets us explore possibilities, brainstorm, even give advice quite delicately without committing to the reality of the scenario. It's useful for, like, diplomacy or just playing with ideas.
That's a really great way to put it. Diplomacy and ideation. Okay, so we have these three main types. Zero for facts, first for probable futures, second for hypotheticals.
Certainty, probability, imagination, more or less.
Right. But, and here's where it gets even richer, if isn't the only word we use, is it?
No, not at all. English has a whole toolkit for conditionals.
Yeah, other words and phrases that add slightly different flavors, different nuances.
Let's talk about some of those.
Okay. How about when and as soon as? How are they different from if?
Well, if suggests the condition might happen, right? There's uncertainty. But when or as soon as imply you expect it to happen. The condition is seen as much more certain.
Okay, give me an example.
All right, but if I say, I'll give you a lift if I finish my work in time. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. Depends on the work.
Okay, uncertain.
But if I say, I'll give you a lift when I finish this work, or as soon as I finish.
Sounds much more definite. Like, you will finish the work and then the lift will happen.
Exactly. It signals commitment. The speaker believes the condition will be met. It changes the expectation completely.
That small word makes a big difference. Okay, what about unless?
Powerful one, unless. It introduces a negative condition. Basically means if not.
Right. Like Simon's dad again. You won't earn much interest unless you invest it properly.
Which means?
If you don't invest it properly, you won't earn much interest.
Yeah, it wraps the warning up neatly.
It's very direct.
Okay. And then there are those phrases like provided that or as long as. They feel a bit more emphatic than just if.
They do. They often highlight a specific condition, a prerequisite that must be met.
Simon's dad used provided that for the investment, didn't he? You won't lose any money provided that you think of it long term.
Yes, stressing that particular condition for safety. Provided that, and providing that maybe sound a touch more formal. Often see them in writing.
And he used as long as for the car compromise.
Right. As long as you get a secondhand one, you can still invest some money. It sets that clear boundary, the non-negotiable part of the deal, almost.
It feels like a stronger condition than just if.
It can, yeah. It really pins down the requirement. And choosing between, say, provided that and as long as can subtly change the tone, too. One might feel firmer, the other a bit more conversational. Interesting. Okay, one more. In case. This one trips people up sometimes. It's not quite the same as if, is it?
No, definitely not. In case is about taking precautions. Doing something because something else might happen later. It's about foresight.
Okay, so compare these. You should quote this reference number if there are any problems.
Meaning, when the problems actually happen, use the number then and there, reacting to the situation.
Right. Versus, you should keep this reference number in case there are any problems.
Meaning, keep it now as a safeguard because problems are a possibility down the line. You're preparing in advance.
Got it. It's proactive. And you mentioned we don't usually start a sentence with in case.
Generally not, because it refers back to the precaution you're suggesting someone take first. Keep the number precaution in case problems arise, potential future event.
Makes sense.
It really highlights the difference between reacting to something happening and preparing for something that might happen. Think about contracts mentioning in case of unforeseen circumstances.
Yeah, they're planning for future possibilities, not current issues.
Exactly. These little words carry a lot of weight regarding preparedness, certainty, commitment. Choosing the right one lets you be incredibly precise.
Okay, wow. So we've gone through Simon's dilemma. We've looked at the intent behind the zero, first, second conditionals, and now this whole range of alternatives to if.
Yeah, quite a journey through conditional thinking.
So let's bring it home. What does this all mean for you listening, beyond just getting the grammar right?
Well, like we said, it's really so much more than grammar. Understanding conditional language, truly understanding it, it empowers you.
How so?
It lets you communicate with, honestly, startling precision about possibilities, about risks, about what might happen, and maybe even more importantly, it helps you interpret what others are saying.
Okay.
Which brings up the big question right there. How can you actually use this in your daily decisions when you're reading the news, listening to pitches? How do you apply it?
Good question.
Well, firstly, it dramatically sharpens your critical thinking. It really does.
How?
When you hear or read a conditional statement, say, in the news, or from a politician, or even in an advert, you can now recognize the speaker's underlying intention, or maybe their level of confidence.
Oh, okay. Are they stating a fact? Zero conditional.
Right. Or are they talking about something they think is really likely? First conditional.
Or is it just a hypothetical? Maybe even a bit of wishful thinking or a distraction? Second conditional.
Exactly. Recognizing that helps you dissect arguments, spot assumptions, evaluate predictions much more effectively. It stops you from being swayed by someone presenting a wild hypothetical as if it's a probable outcome.
That's huge. It's like a built-in BS detector, almost. Calibrating their confidence level.
Precisely. That's a great way to put it. And secondly, it directly helps your own decision-making. Think about Simon and his dad. We do that all the time, don't we? We use conditional thinking constantly to weigh pros and cons, assess risks, figure out what to do next.
Yeah, it's how we plan.
So if you become more conscious of these structures in your own thoughts, in your internal monologue, and in your conversations, you can make more informed choices. You start to recognize, okay, am I basing this decision on a solid probability, first conditional, or am I getting lost in a what-if fantasy? Second conditional.
Like, if I won the lottery, I'd buy a yacht. Pure second conditional fantasy.
Exactly. Versus, if I save 10% of my salary, I'll have enough for a down payment in 2 years. That's first conditional planning. That awareness helps you move from just dreaming to actual strategizing.
That makes a lot of sense. Just being aware of the type of conditional you're using in your own head can clarify things.
It really can.
Okay, well, that about wraps up our deep dive into conditional language. Hopefully, you feel a bit more equipped now with a sort of lens to see beyond just the words,
Hmm.
to understand how we all talk about possibilities and consequences. Next time you're facing a choice, or maybe listening to a debate, or even reading an important email, try to spot the conditionals.
Notice the ifs, the unlesses, the
Right.
provided that.
Yeah. And pay attention to the verb tenses that follow. You might be surprised what subtle messages you start picking up on.
And maybe just a final thought to leave you with.
Okay.
Consider how much of our future, our collective future, even personal goals, business strategies, national policies, hinges on conditional statements. Think about when the language
You know
shifts.
what I mean?
Well, when a potential future moves from being talked about with a first conditional, if we invest in this tech, it will create jobs, to maybe being discussed with a second conditional. Well, if we were to invest, it might create jobs.
Ah, that signals a huge shift, doesn't it? A loss of confidence or commitment.
Exactly. That subtle change in conditional structure can signal a fundamental change in perceived reality, in belief, in commitment. What does that tell you about how powerful these seemingly small grammatical choices really are in shaping where we think we're heading?